Hey guys, I am experimenting a little bit in the garden this year, particularly with companion planting. And I wanted to kind of do this one just as an experiment to see, do I get better yields? Does it work out better? But also because I am kind of limited on space. Um, I feel like a lot of you are probably like, oh yeah, my garden's never big enough. Um, but what I'm working with is basically an old, huge raised bed that was kind of more of an ornamental garden when we purchased our property that was super, super, super overgrown. My husband basically had to come through with a chainsaw. And so now we've kind of reclaimed it and we use it as our vegetable garden. But I basically just have this, it goes this way as well, but this big, long, kind of narrow space set up on our hill. So I don't have a lot of places to expand our garden. I do have, you can kind of see that fence behind me. That's another one of my garden areas. But I wanted to kind of see, can I fit more into more vegetables, crops, whatever, into a tighter space. Now, I already do not follow the recommended spacing. I pack things super tight and I have had, for the most part, great success with that. I've never had an issue because I decided to plant my tomato plants, more like 6 to 8 inches apart than a foot apart, or even further. I've seen, people saying that they want to plant their tomatoes like 2 feet apart. You do not need that much space. So I wanted to kind of experiment with planting things super tight together, but things that do well together. So I'm going to kind of introduce you to what I've companion planted in the garden, a few things at a time, just so this video doesn't get super, super long. And I don't bore anybody to death. So the first thing I'm going to talk about here is my kohlrabi. I have kohlrabi here. We tried kohlrabi for the first time last year and we loved it. So I planted a lot of kohlrabi, but I know like kind of the cabbage beetles and some of that kind of stuff can be an issue with the kohlrabi. So one thing I did was I interspersed onions in between all the plants, and I figured the kohlrabi is going to grow up and the onions are going to grow down, so they shouldn't be competing for space, and the onions should also help keep away pests. So you can sort of see Trip, my 2-year-old, help me with this, but I basically just interspersed and they're all kind of starting to pop up. Let me see if I can find, here's another one here. Oops, can't see that. They're all starting to pop up, but I interspersed onions in between all of my kohlrabi plants. I'm getting a lot more out of the space, but I'm also hoping that it will prevent pests from destroying my kohlrabi at the same time. And then on the opposite side, I have all of my Brussels sprouts. And in between my Brussels sprouts, I've planted radishes, which you can see are popping up here because I figure the Brussels sprouts are going to go up, radishes are going to go down. And then behind them, I have cucumbers. I need to finish planting my cucumbers. My neighbor's daughter borrowed some of my seeds and I need to get particularly my Market More 76 ones back from her. But I am planting my cucumbers right behind it because I'm going to trellis them. I trellised my cucumbers for the first time last year and I only did 6 plants and I had like the largest cucumber harvest I've ever had out of only 6 plants when normally I've planted like 12 to 18 plants. So I am definitely trellising again. I was super happy with the results. You definitely have to be diligent about training them maybe every other day, especially in the very beginning, so that they don't start growing out and you can keep training them to go up. But I think it's definitely worth it if you have a small space to take the time to do that, because I couldn't believe the crop that I ended up with. So the radishes are going down, the Brussels sprouts are going to, kind of just grow up here, and then behind that, the cucumbers, I'll add a trellis right along the edge here, and then they will go up. They're also going to provide shade. We can definitely have hot summers here in Baltimore, so the kohlrabi and the Brussels sprouts are going to like slightly cooler temperatures. This side of the garden also gets shade first, but the cucumbers are also going to help shade my Brussels sprouts and my kohlrabi from being, exposed to the full sun all day long. So I'm definitely curious to see how this works out. I have not tried growing kohlrabi more in the summer. I've used that as a spring crop before, and it worked out sort of well. We had a really cold, wet spring last year, so I don't think that was a good gauge. And then this is my first time trying Brussels sprouts, so we'll see what happens. But hoping that this works out, definitely hoping my onions do well. I haven't planted onions in a few years, typically because of space, so I'm excited to kind of figure out new ways to utilize my space better. But I'll keep you guys updated on how it's going. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any updates, and I'll talk to you guys later.